This Sunday, September 15th at 7:30 p.m. at St. Andrews River Heights United Church, Winnipeg's GSwell is kicking off their 2024-25 season with a concert called Sustenance. Merriam-Webster defines sustenance as a means of support, nourishment, being supplied with the necessities of life, and something that gives support, endurance, and strength. The concert on Sunday explores these themes as a reaction to the new life chapter born out of the days of isolation and silence that started in 2020 because of the COVID pandemic. Created and curated by Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra violinist Elation, the Sustenance concert will feature one world premiere and 5 Manitoba premieres. It will highlight the music of David Braid, Suruj Karajan, Karen Sunabaka, Kelly Murphy, and others. This performance is in anticipation of Elation upcoming album called Sustenance that is due to be released later this fall as part of a collaboration with SOCAN and the Canada Council for the Arts. Sunday's concert is sure to be something very memorable and very special. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by Elation and 4-time Juno-winning pianist and composer David Braid. Hello to you both. So nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
So, Elation, the project seems super interesting. Can you go back to the beginning and talk us through the process about how this project started and how you got it off the ground?
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy how long it's been. It's amazing to finally be able to present this long project to my Winnipeg family and friends and audience. But yeah, I think it was a brutal time for everybody. And being a violinist with that as my means of contributing to society, it was I just felt totally useless, and it was rough. So during that time, I was really searching for an avenue, a way of connecting that wasn't dependent on my regular sources of giving, means of contributing, and started asking friends to send me music because I had nothing to play and nothing to practice. And David was one of those people that sent me some scores, and one of them I really liked, in particular, Interior Castles. And it just kind of grew from there. I've had a lot of favorite composers that I've worked with over the years. Maybe I've met them at New Music Festival, or maybe they've been acquaintances from farther back, University of Toronto. And the dream just kind of grew to create this list of works and maybe contribute something to the repertoire that wasn't there yet. It's amazing doing the research how many composers of today actually don't have music written for violin and piano. It's a standard instrumentation, and yet on people's list of works, there's often a bit of a gap for that particular instrumentation. So I wanted to contribute to the repertoire, contribute to the genre, and be able to contribute to people around me with what I do in a way that I hope will be meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I was reading about some of the music. It sounds fantastic. There's always the question of money. I mean, it's one thing to commission works from composers, but like violinists, they got to put food in their belly. How did the funding process and how did that part of the puzzle come together?
Yeah, well, initially I had actually asked Naomi Wu to collaborate with me, and her career has just really skyrocketed, and she moved away, and I had to reimagine how the project was going to work. But she was really encouraging and just was like, Elation, this is going to happen. We'll just apply for funding, and if we don't get it, we'll apply again, and she knew exactly which grant to go for, which is the Canada Council for the Arts, Create and Explore grant. And I knew about a few other things, like with the SOCAN Foundation, and I have asked a few friends to be private donors, and she you just have to kind of believe that it's going to work one way or another. And I actually applied more than once to the Canada Council for the Arts, and I was totally overjoyed when the email came that said my application was successful.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
David, it is so great to have you here in person. The last
you.
time we talked was over Zoom.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was last year ahead of your performance at the Fort Garry Hotel.
Right. Yeah.
On Elation Sunday program, there are two pieces by you. Help me out with the title of the first one, Liminal Bells.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And there's that piece, and then there's the 3 songs for violin and piano, which I understand were written last year. Can you talk about those pieces?
Sure. So with the songs, the 3 songs, it's sort of subtitled Without Words. And I've had this, and I know you know this already, but I've had this fascination with folk melodies for a very long time. And it's really interesting to me because it seems to me that folk melodies might share some sort of common universal musical language, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it'd be a really interesting experiment to take some melodies from different parts of the world and play it for people in other parts of the world who aren't familiar with the musical system to see if the emotion translates, you know?
Right.
So maybe something about melody can speak to a shared sense of commonality between people, perhaps. So with this fascination with melody, I like to try and write strong melodic themes. So naturally, you know, I'm going to come up once in a while with a song. And so this Elation mentioned that she was interested in this older piece of mine called Interior Castles, which I think has quite a strong melody. And so since she was already interested in that part of my work, I thought, well, maybe I can present a set of songs. So on her recording, she's recorded Interior Castles in a new sort of piano violin version. And then this piece it's a collection of 3 songs. So there's someone, I think.
Are they original melodies, or are they
Yeah.
inspired by musics from other cultures?
It's hard to know exactly where the inspirations for those melodies come from. I'm thinking now about when I was writing them, and the only thing I think that was on the front of my mind that was influencing their shape was I knew I was writing it for instrumentalists. So that had, you know, like I think, for example, the opening song is actually a melody from a bassoon cadenza in this chamber choral work that I wrote several years ago. But I thought, wow, it's such a nice melody. It would work well, you know, with some other instruments. And a colleague of mine wrote some words to it as well. So it's had a few different forms. But yeah, nothing really so interesting perhaps to say about the actual creation, except they were always, from the beginning, intended to be instrumental melodies.
And what are the melodies like, Elation?
They're the kind of melodies that sort of play in your mind for a while after you've heard them. You know, yeah, we actually rehearsed that piece just before the recording for the first time, whereas most of the other music I kind of had already going prior, and after the recording session, I found them still. My mind was still working on them. You know, they're still playing there.
Perfect. What is Liminal Bells?
Well, how much time do we have? Well, the word liminal can have a few different meanings, but in this particular case, it sort of refers to, if you can sort of imagine a concept of a threshold, so it's between 2 different worlds. So I'll just leave it at that. It's maybe it can evoke a mood or a concept, perhaps. The bells part, well, through a bunch of unfortunate circumstances, I had to, for the first time in my entire career, I had to like do a complete stop on music, and for several months, which is really unusual for me because I like to stay on it, you know. And so what happened in these months, I had to do this emergency construction work, you know, and so it was interesting though because it was the first time my sort of inner musical explorer was getting slowly starved, you know, because I wasn't investigating anything. So
It wasn't giving you sustenance. Music wasn't giving you
Correct. Good to loop it back. Yeah. What started to happen was I guess my musical ear was just so desperate that the tools that I was using started to sound musical, or the rhythm of the hammering and the smashing and all the terrible stuff I had to do started to identify themselves in terms of a musical form, which I just repeatedly kept noticing. On top of this, I was working outside, and in the environment, there were an awful lot of church bells. So then I got really interested in the pitch systems of these church bells, and sometimes multiple church bells would ring at the same time, so they would be like bells in every key in every direction and every rhythm simultaneously. So it was this sort of compelling cacophony of sound, you know?
Yeah.
So then I just felt that musical information was really became a part of me. And then Elation asked if I would write an original work for this concert coming up. So naturally, I went to that source of inspiration. And so what I've done with the piece is I've used this technique called prepared piano, which, of course, many people know John Cage made famous. Sorry to say, but I'm not a super fan with the way that John Cage used metal inside the piano, because I find that tone on the abrasive side. So to counter that, I'm using bamboo chopsticks, actually, because they can neatly fit between the piano strings to make a sort of warmer resonance. So the piece is like kind of mechanical in a certain sense, with the percussiveness of the piano being brought out through the piano preparation,
Right.
and some of the mechanical gestures of the violin. And there's parts where I'm playing inside the piano and certain motions like this, which only your video audience can see, which represent sort of or feel like the sort of construction kind of jujitsu I was doing for months, you know. So Liminal Bells is just about this transition period, being starved away from music. And also I should mention too, simultaneously while this was going on, a really close musician friend of mine lost his 25-year-old son to brain cancer, you know. So I was thinking of Toshiro as well. And some of the techniques that I use in the piece kind of go back to some solo piano tours I used to do in China, where I would be improvising on some folk music using prepared piano techniques. So it has a little bit of that color too. Toshiro and his family lived briefly in China. I had met them there at least once, and so something of that story is also finds its way in the piece.
It sounds really great. It's going to be great to hear it on Sunday. I want to go back to the recording session. You played piano on, obviously, your pieces for Elation. Did you play on any of the other pieces on the album, or just yours?
Just mine? Did I just play?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the concert I'm
Without
playing,
Words and Interior Castles.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the concert,
I'm playing one extra.
He's starting off, we're starting the concert off with Spiegel im Spiegel by Arvo Pärt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going from bells to bells, the tintinnabuli
Yes.
compositional style at the beginning, and then the liminal bells at the end.
Yeah, and the Spiegel im Spiegel, it's hypnotic, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Timeless.
How does it give you sustenance?
It's so actually I'm dedicating this piece to my friend Meredith McCallum, who passed away 5 years ago. That her passing was a huge event in my life, and it really changed a lot for me. And this piece was one that I've been wanting to play in her memory for a long time. Just because it is so timeless and it is so eternal, and it just goes to that extra dimension, really. It's a way of connecting the past to the present to the future, and and just taking everyone really to that other realm.
Oh, wonderful. There's so many great pieces on Sunday night's program and on the upcoming CD. I was looking at the list on your website, Elation, and one of the things that popped out at me was Chris Dirkson's piece, Country Food for Violin and Tape. I interviewed a Canadian pianist, David Potvin, a couple months ago, and he recorded a piece by Chris Dirkson where she used tape with the piano. I'm fascinated by instruments with tape. What is the tape like, and what is the piece like?
Yeah, so it's really a great work. It's I would say kind of fiddly. It's has a groove to it, and so it starts off with the tape. It's about food scarcity in the north. That's where the tape part comes from. It's comes from a speech addressed in Ottawa pertaining to that theme. So there's a short sound clip at the beginning, and then I sort of start off with this very mysterious, eerie Ponticello soft opening, and then there's a clip played again after a bit of violin, and then there's a bit of layering actually that goes on. So the listener their ears will be drawn to the voice and to the words, and then also with the violin going on underneath it. So it has quite the impact, for sure. Yeah.
The scarcity of food, again, tying into this whole theme of sustenance for the concert.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. David, I know you have a keen interest in music from former Soviet republics, such as Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, etc.
Big time.
Suruj Karajan is Armenian background and was also at the recording session as well. Did the two of you get to talk shop? And the other question I have is, have you heard his piece "Girl from the Mountain" that's on Sunday night's program?
Yeah, well, at the recording session, we just kind of high-fived each other because he was coming in and I was coming out. But we did play a concert in Toronto before the recording session. And then we had a little reception after, so Suruj and I couldn't stop talking to each other because I was so excited to tell him about how much I was into the musical culture that he was obviously very familiar with, and having gone to Armenia several times to perform, we had a nice chat about that, and certain Armenian melodies that mean a lot to me I could ask him about. And the piece that he wrote, I understand, is based on one of these well-known melodies, which I didn't know. But I do know the piece quite well now because Elation seems to like my mixing. So I got to mix. I guess I'm mixing your whole album. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
New career. Yeah. So I enjoyed really. I like the mixing process because I can put my composer ears on and just try and pull out as much information as possible. And I found that piece by Suruj was quite rich with information. So it was fun to mix because I could listen many times and, try and find all the little bits of goodness to hopefully share in a more direct way with listeners hearing it for the first time. So, yeah.
Amazing. And Elation, what's the writing like for violin?
Of the Saudi Akchik? Yeah, it's beautiful. So this piece, actually, I asked him to arrange for violin and piano because I loved the melody so much. I heard him playing the solo piano version that he does over one of the Instagram reels, and I was like, I really like this piece. Would you consider arranging it? And he was kind enough to agree. And it's beautiful. It's just so beautiful. It's the kind of thing that actually, when you look at it on the page and when you listen to it, it's a bit of a visual game. I don't know if you noticed that. Just the way it's written, sometimes it's in 3/4, but then sometimes it goes into almost a 6/8. It has a bit of a rhapsodic feel to it in the middle, and it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous music. Epic, I would call it.
One of the things I love so much about Armenian music is those long lyrical lines and the modes that they use. In the mode of writing, I just find it gorgeous. I love Armenian music. Is it like that? Is the violin writing like that? Is that a way to describe it, or?
I don't think it's necessarily modal, this one.
Not
I think
so much,
Iman
no.
Habibi's piece has more modal stuff in it. It's just a gorgeous tune, really, with and Suruj sounds amazing in the piano flourishes.
Yeah, and he'll be playing with it with you on Sunday night.
That's right. Yeah.
Kelly Marie Murphy wrote a piece for you called Fire and Ice, Bodied Double Up Withdrawal Anxiety. Great title. What's it like? And can you talk about the titles of the movements? Mellifluous heart-rending and agitated and possessed. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I kind of wish I had brought along her program note. Creating the program for this felt kind of like putting a little book together of articles. But yeah, in her program note, she talks about how we as people are addicted to so many things and not really able to sustain ourselves. You know, we're so hooked on our cell phones and even like in need of other people all the time. And so this piece kind of deals with the main emotions of the first one, what did she say? The first one movement is about
mellifluous and heart-rending?
Yeah, but it's more sort of the disbelief that you know the state of affairs with the pandemic was happening. That kind of just like puzzlement, confusion, and disbelief. And then the second movement is really about the fear that we experience when the things that we're so dependent on are taken from us. It's a really powerful work. I would say it's the most dissonant of the program. Probably the most challenging violinistically in certain ways. But I think it's very captivating, and it's something, I think it really touches on emotions that we all experienced during that time. And the last movement is very exciting. It's got a lot of, it's almost a moto perpetuo movement, and it's very virtuosic, and just kind of has this sort of tangible energy that really kind of sends you off somewhere.
Oh man, fantastic. You're also playing a piece on Sunday by Carmen Braden, the piece Fox's Musical Games. Am I right? Did she write this for the E-grade competition?
Correct. That's correct.
And what are the games that she's referring to?
It's so fun. It's very playful. So she wrote a nursery song, like a young children's song for this piece. That's a part of it. And then she asks the performer to insert their own childhood song. So anytime you hear this piece, if you ever hear this piece again performed by someone else, it would be completely different. Wow. The performer has the choice of speaking this nursery rhyme or singing there are lots of options. And some of the games that we play, we actually play a game right off the opening with the audience, where we need some numbers to insert into the work. So it starts off with unison, like rhythmically. They're supposed to be unison rhythmically. This number that the audience generates for us, and it's supposed to speed up, and we're supposed to do it together. So Saruj and I are going to have to remember, okay, is it 7 or is it 9? And we better end together. So that's right off the top of the first one. And then there's also games of tag and games of dynamic tag. So, I don't know how much he's going to try and psych me out there. and all of a sudden play pianissimo, subito. Yeah.
So you have to really think on your feet as you're playing it.
Yes, and thankfully in the program notes she puts down she'd rather have a fun and spontaneous performance than a perfect one. So that's a nice little bonus.
Yeah. You've mentioned the Iman Habibi piece. It's called Offering of Water. Again, we're dealing with this whole idea of sustenance, and water being definitely one of those things. It's in 5 movements. Elation, can you talk about the titles? What do the titles mean?
Yeah, of life and to life. So this is all very much about water as a source, and also related to the Zoroastrian wisdom and purifying prayer that is a bit of a ritual where elements of flora and fauna are given up along with a prayer of atonement for the use of the water. So this of life, I think it's just sort of the source with water being life-giving. And then yasna is the prayer. That's the name of the prayer. And purifying is the idea that the prayer will help atone for use and pollution of the water, and it shall flow if from tears, I think, speaks to the sadness that we experience when we see our water being either diminished or becoming an unhealthy source, damaged, and then back to life. Purify, I should mention, has a lot of it starts out with an improvised section on the piano where I'm just playing these harmonics, and then Saruj has a cool improvised section where we're not supposed to sync up. So I know how it sounds on the recording, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to sound like that on Sunday. And then I have to play these shimmering harmonics, and it's very evocative of a river flowing with the light, just glancing off of the water and sparkling. It's tricky to pull off, but it's very effective, I think.
Absolutely magical. This has been so great. I'm going to wrap up the conversation by asking what you both are excited about most about performing on Sunday. David, I'll start with you.
What am I performing? Sorry.
What are you most excited about Sunday night?
Oh, well, it's a beautiful space with a beautiful sound. And, just looping it back to the earlier chat referencing the pandemic, like, to me, it's like when it's all been taken away from you, and then you get it back. I mean, at least for me, I recognize that it's nothing short of miraculous that you can be together in a room again, sharing some music. We probably will know half the people in the audience, so it's sharing among friends, music that we love, that we want to share. I mean, what's greater than that? I mean, that's the dream. I think it's the real purpose of music, and community and ritual have always been tied, I think, historically. So it's just small concerts like this, I think, is a really beautiful expression of that real pure form of artistic exchange. Yeah.
Totally. Elation, how about you?
Yeah, it's really incredible to finally be able to bring all of this to the stage. I'm really thankful to Groundswell for hosting us, and David Scott has been a great listening ear. I'm such an extrovert and always need a bit of a sounding board, and he was great at listening to my ideas. And I agree with what David said. Just the chance to really be together. You'll never take that. I will never take that for granted again. Having those people in those seats in front of me, face to face. That's it's just going to be really rewarding, and I really love each of these pieces. To be able to present them on Sunday will be total pleasure and joy.
Amazing. I lied. Can you plug your CD? When's it coming out?
Oh, yeah. When are you going to finish mixing it, David?
I finished it this morning, actually.
We're not sure. I'm hoping sometime before Christmas, but people can sign up for my mailing list, and I will let them know as soon as I've got the date.
And the name of the CD is Sustenance.
Yeah.
And it has almost all of the works that you'll be performing on Sunday night.
That's right. In this program, we're playing 8 pieces, and 6 of them are on the album, and the album has 3 extras.
Fantastic. And my other question is, can we get a copy?
Of course. Definitely.
David and Elation, the concert on Sunday at 7:30 at St. Andrews River Heights United Church is going to be amazing. All the best. The concert is pay what you can, so all the more reason for people to take in this fantastic new music. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. This has just been a real joy.
Our pleasure.
Great to be here.
Yeah.